Hello and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. I am your host, Joanne Close, and this is episode 106. I am so excited to talk about this topic. I adore this wine region, Alsace. I think it is remarkable. There is a lot to discuss here, which is why I'm dividing it up into two separate episodes. And specifically for 106, because the complex and turbulent history has distinctly put its stamp upon the identity of this region and the styles of wines that it makes. This region has been a tug of war between France and Germany for a very long time. It is now officially part of France, but I wouldn't say it's entirely French, and I wouldn't say that it's entirely German either. It is a region that has been shaped by both of these countries, but has emerged with an identity all of its own. First, let's look at the geography, because this will also help us frame where it is and what I'm talking about here. It is the skinny, narrow strip of land. It is about 75 miles north to south and 3 miles wide. It is also wedged between two pretty important geographical features. You have the Vosges Mountains to the west, and then you have the Rhine River to the east. So not only is it on the border of these two major countries, it also is butted up against these two big geographical features. It independently, as a region, has a very long winemaking history. The Romans were making wonderful wines here. It thrived all the way through the Middle Ages and had its lovely peak in the Renaissance, the long-standing reputation for quality wine. Indeed, here we have one of the oldest existing wine routes in France. It was established in 1953. This is the Route de Vin d'Alsace. And, you know, when your friends go on vacation to Alsace and they say, I rode my bike, this is what they're talking about, okay? They're talking about this Route de Vin. It's so funny reading the tourist pages because they're like, walk with glass in hand down the Route de Vin d'Alsace. I'm like, walk, it's 105 miles. Anyway, obviously you take your time and you stay in the cute little medieval towns. Really a lovely thing to do when you're in this neck of the woods. Oh boy, well, let's get to the sort of the unpleasant stuff here, and it is the cycle of destruction and recovery. God, it sounds very dramatic, like a movie coming out this summer or something. However, there was a book written about it, okay? And many of you, once you start emailing me, say, Joanne, have you read War and Wine? And yes, I have read it. It's a very good book, and it does really frame just how devastating all the wars and conflict can be to these wine regions, but also the tremendous resilience and the stories. I highly recommend this book if you haven't already read it. So sadly, because this region is sandwiched between these two major countries, it has been at the forefront of many nasty conflict. And as you know, when countries get interrupted by war, it halts progress. It holds us back. Because of this ping pong effect here, passed from France to Germany, literally many, many times, back and forth, and it has created many years of instability for this region. Okay, just to add insult to injury, of course, we have Phylloxera. And when Phylloxera hit in the late 19th century, as Alsace was under German control at this time, the Germans did a very naughty thing, and they encouraged Alsace to replant after Phylloxera with hybrids and lesser quality grapes because they were fearful of Alsace and they could see its potential and they didn't want to have to compete. And that's some dirty dealings right there. Finally, Alsace gets to rebuild a little bit when it's now once again under the ruling of France at the end of World War I. And France said, nope, pull out those hybrids. But at that point, there was really no money to do this, so it was slow to happen. But France recognized that the hybrids were no good, and they had Alsace replant with more of the noble varieties. And because of all this, Alsace has developed its own unique identity, shaped by centuries of change, with influence by both countries. Some of the German influence here includes grape varietals being included on the label. We know in France this is really not what's done, right? You need to know Sancerre, you need to know the grapes there, you need to know Bordeaux and the grapes there. But here in Alsace, well, Riesling is on the label and Pinot Noir is on the label. They very much follow the German mentality of doing that. Riesling is the major grape here. And indeed, it is the only place in France that Riesling is grown. Riesling is really a German grape, right? So they're following suit there with Riesling being the hero grape. Also, you've probably noticed that the shapes of the bottles in Alsace are these tall, thin flutes. This is also a very German way of bottling wine. And Alsace has drawn influence from France as well, namely with the AOC classification system, mirroring that as France more closely than German, emphasis on quality and origin. But although Alsace can be a little bit French and a little bit German, it is 100% Alsace, and it makes traditionally dry white wines, also produces wines that are affected by botrytis. So what does Alsace look like today? There's about 15,600 hectares under vine with around 3,700 growers, and sadly that number is constantly decreasing. But a big and important distinction here is that most of these growers are small and family-owned, and not only that, have been in the same families for hundreds of years. The cooperatives are very important. About 50% of the wine made here are made by the co-ops, 31% by the negociants, leaving only about 19% that are actually estate bottled. And this is wild to me, okay? This region drinks most of its wine. Only 25% are actually exported. The most of it is consumed locally or within France. This, to me, signifies a strong, self-reliant region and wine culture. If you are from a region that your nationality keeps constantly changing, wars and armies keep constantly crossing past your boundaries, you're going to rely on yourself, right? You're going to need to be more self-reliant. And this is essentially the culture of Alsace in a nutshell. Next week, we're going to really talk about the regions, classifications, grapes, and climate. This is all good WSET stuff, right? I'm going to be covering Alsace at the WSET Level 2 level. Lots of juicy quizzes and essay questions coming from this material. If you haven't already, the newsletter is where you need to be. Go to wineeducate.com and you'll see the green newsletter button. If you are looking at my slides on YouTube, I have a QR code. You can scan that. All right, friend, I hope you have a lovely week and see you next time.